I am currently living in Westland Meadows apartment complex. It's all subsidized housing for seniors and disabled. I waited about 3 years. I moved in a year ago in July. I got my bachelor's degree from Western, and I was living in student housing at the time there. Actually, when I was starting to think about finishing school and what I wanted to do, a friend of mine has volunteered with Housing Resources here in town and told me that they had a list of apartments for people with disabilities, subsidized in Section 8. So I got that, and also one of my friends who has a disability lives in Three Rivers and wanted to come up here, and so I was trying to help her also find an option. So I went off this list and started going around to these places right here in town, and for me personally, I need a few accommodations in it, and one being I need a shower instead of a tub. And that was my first question, was do you have any units with roll-in showers? And when I asked them if they had a accessible unit, they said yes. I said, do you have tubs or do you have showers? And all of them said tubs. And for me, that's just not an option. So that was one big barrier that I had to come across. And then when I got to the end of the list and couldn't find anything, I kind of gave up on it and said, okay, I'll go home for a little while, which was okay because my family needed some help at the time. So once that kind of settled down, I didn't even go off the list when I found Westland Meadows. It was just purely by accident of seeing a lady come down the street in a wheelchair, and I thought, where'd she come from? So it was more my own, finding it all on my own. So for somebody that can't do that, I don't know how else other than that list that somebody could go through to find something. So they put me on the waiting list. Then they changed their management and didn't tell me, and they took me off the list because the new management took the disabled part off of it and just left it at seniors. And so I just kind of gave up on it. And about 2 years ago, I was looking for a place for my grandma to move into down here, and happened to think that it might be a good place for her to be. So I went in asking about her, and the lady said, well, how about you? Are you looking for a place? And I said, well, I am, but I've looked here, but I can't live here because it's not disabled. And obviously came in a chair, so she knew I was disabled. She said, well, we have disabled on now. And she ended up going back in and finding my application that was probably at least a year old at that point, and put me first on the list. And they called me last June and asked me if I wanted to move in, and a month later I moved into the complex. So it's a great location. Just knowing that I'm on my own, having my own place to call my own, I guess, is a big accomplishment for me. So it's been a challenge, but it's nice.